Greetings, friends and spiritual rebels. Welcome to the woods. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the holidays that do not involve falling leaves or icy winters. It seems to be a preference in my country of origin to celebrate the colder, darker parts of the year. Now, perhaps there's an innocent reason for that. Perhaps it is felt that that's when we need the most cheering up, because some people plunge straight into depression the minute that the sun begins to fade out and the nights become longer. Perhaps that's why. But I believe that there are other reasons why the spring and summer celebrations, which are a normal part of the human experience. We tend to want to celebrate change. We tend to want to demark it. We tend to want to acknowledge each season in its own time. And yet, we have the farmers writing our script. They want us to celebrate, the terrors of the dark in the fall with Halloween, and um, the need for charity and the need for coming together as a community in the winter so that we can more or less take care of ourselves and our neighbors. We can keep deprivation from being an issue and from thinning the herd too much. So it's understandable. But we have a strong inclination where we want to celebrate life. And the sacred celebration, the Christian celebration, which is the majority of North America, the Christian celebration it's a focus on death. Easter is a focus on the death of a son of God. And that seems to be a stronger emphasis than the life. Yes, there is a certain amount of celebration. Yes, he died, but then he came back. But the emphasis seems to be on the yes, he died part. That's in the religious world, and we've already talked about that. But let's look at the secular world for a moment. In the secular world, again, the focus is on death. The beginning of the warm season, the celebration of spring, for most of us in the US, is Memorial Day. Now, on Memorial Day, we honor those warriors who have fallen in the service of maintaining our freedom, our lives. That's a great thing. But let me argue, that should be done in the fall. Because the fall is when we look back. It's the easiest season for looking back on our history. Acknowledge our ancestors, acknowledging those who have come before, and for the spirit world to feel that acknowledgement and be exalted by our attention. That's the proper time to celebrate those who have fallen. Springtime is not. I don't tolerate parasites, as you may have noticed. Springtime should be a time of new life, the acknowledgement of new life. And people feel that instinctively, which is why Memorial Day, rather than being known as a time when everyone goes to the monuments and the grave sites, although that does happen, more often families get together, they do cookouts, they go into the great outdoors, it's springtime, the winter's over, let's open the pool, let's pull out the barbecue. They instinctively acknowledge it's spring. That's natural. Now, you could argue that there is a certain amount of justice in acknowledging our fallen heroes, in the springtime, because in the springtime, that's traditionally, at least in the Roman Empire, which directly birthed the souls that have come in to create the United States, the North American empire. In that particular civilization, it was spring, usually March, which is why they called it March, and April, named after Aries, that they brought out their military, because that's when it was a good time to go off and conquer more territory for the empire. That's when you start your wars. It's the best time to start the wars, springtime. So perhaps spring is a great time to acknowledge the warriors. However, I would say that there's a difference between wars and warriors. You can feel gratitude and reverence for those who are willing to give their lives for yours, the warriors, without necessarily feeling gratitude and reverence toward the wars themselves. And I think sometimes people have difficulty with that concept, because recently I've seen quite a number of people who just want to celebrate spring striking out against our veterans, because they equate those veterans with the people who sent them to war and the reasons that they were sent to war. And you have to separate those two. Completely different. You have to acknowledge that we need heroes. We need heroes to protect us from those who would predate on us, whether it be other humans or farmers. And these young men and women, mostly young, who are willing to put themselves between us and danger, they need to have a day or a week or a month that honors their contribution. But I would argue that the distractions of spring take away from that. So yeah, we have a holy day that honors spring, but not officially. Now, I could go on about July the 4th, the Independence Day celebration in America, which is designated as honoring the winning of a war to gain independence, when in all actuality how people celebrate it is it's a celebration of summer. Really, that's how people acknowledge it. They again go out with their barbecues, they go outdoors, they have a picnic, they're in nature, and they're enjoying all of the beauty and the benefit of summer. And that the use of it to glorify the empire, I'm not saying that independence is a bad thing. What I am saying is it's a bit of a misdirection for those of us who understand history and who've been able to discern real history and the way things really have gone. To celebrate independence on that day is bittersweet. As we are getting our independence back, that is less so. But let's have a day that truly acknowledges what it's designed to acknowledge in ways that enhance that. And let's create another day, maybe in August, to celebrate summer. Because as humans, we don't want our holidays all mixed up with politics and even history. We want to celebrate what's inside of us and around us and what comes out. Because as humans, we are creative. It's one of the things that makes us unique and powerful. And we create with the energies and the building blocks around us. The seasons, 4 seasons, and the transitionary time between them is part of those energies that we bring through to create our world. As such, we should be able to acknowledge those and have those acknowledgments honored by society. So, yeah, you can get the 4th of July off. Yeah, you can get Memorial Day off. That's wonderful. But what are you really celebrating? Where's our spring celebration? Where is our summer celebration? Something to think about. And welcome to the woods.